Welcome back to The Dilemma. I'm Emma.
And I'm Brian Burns.
And today we are throwing at you a little business trivia.
Yes.
So get ready to answer some questions and have some fun.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to kick off today with the first question.
Okay.
And you're going to give me an answer.
Let's do it.
As a salesperson, what do you sell first on a sales call? The fine reputation of the company you work for, the great service or product you are selling, the reasonable price for the product or service, or your personality, your style, and yourself?
Well, I think the answer would be the last one, myself, because people buy from people they like and they trust. And so the first thing you're doing is building rapport, building that connection with the people and yourself. So I think all those things are important, throughout the process. But in the very beginning, you're trying to build a connection with the people.
Here's the thing is I would agree for a cold call. For a cold call, you're more building that rapport. But for a sales call, you're building the rapport of the company.
What's the answer?
It's A, the fine reputation of the company you work for.
Okay.
Normally, you introduce who Ceridian is, because I work at Ceridian for me. So when we get on our first, but I would agree for a cold call. So I guess it just depends on what sales call they're talking about, because initially you are building that rapport with just yourself and that person.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you do jump on the call, I was recently on an introduction call and then on a demo call, and we were just talking about who Ceridian is, because not a lot of people know about us.
Yeah. Well, and I think it depends on where you're at in the process. I think you said that, and even in the meeting, when you're meeting someone for the first time, you've got to kind of introduce yourself and share who you are.
Yeah, we did do introductions first. So, and then we dove into what Ceridian was.
Yep. And then once they trust you and they understand who you work for and what you do, then you can get into the
nitty-gritty.
Then they're going to want to trust you to understand their business and what they do, and how you can help them. Okay. All right. I have one for you now.
Is this a new one?
No.
Okay.
You've heard these before. So,
I don't know if that was important.
Are you getting distracted? No, I can take care of that in a minute. According to a recent survey of C-level executives, what's the most important soft skill that you want from your sales professionals? A, empathy, B, enthusiasm, or C, all kinds of random product knowledge?
Let me think about it. I'm going to choose B, enthusiasm, because people want you to be enthusiastic. I think we even talk about this when we are cold calling, even though we're getting voicemails a lot of the times, we're able to practice what we say on the phone, and we pick up pointers like standing up and walking around, and some of those things can help with bringing some enthusiasm to your voice when you are on the call, so that when that one special person does pick up, you don't sound so monotone like you've been cold calling all day.
Yeah.
You want it to sound like they're that one person you were trying to reach.
Yeah. I think enthusiasm is important, because if you're enthusiastic about what you do, then it's contagious. And it goes back to what we were talking about in the last question. It's kind of like you need to connect with them first. Whether or not you have a great company or product is secondary, I think.
And I will say, when I do have more enthusiasm about my job, I do better. And so you can only imagine what that how that comes across to someone else is
for sure.
This person really wants to talk to me about their product.
All right, give me one now. Your turn.
Or rather, the solution we can provide with our product.
Yes.
In general, most people buy a service because they A, appreciate it, B, see it, or B, see it, and then C, wants it. I'm like, wait.
What's the first one? What was that?
Because they A, appreciate it, B, want it, or 3, or C. It's difficult because one of them is see it.
Yeah.
And so I keep saying like, okay, B, see it, or C, want it.
I'm not sure where they're going with this, but I think the answer is that they appreciate it, and
When they buy a service?
when they buy a service, well, it's got to be something they want and they need.
Yeah. Good job. It's want. It's not appreciate. Someone can appreciate it, but the reason they buy a service or solution, I think, is because they want it or they need it, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess I'm getting thrown off by the phrasing of those questions.
I don't know. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe I should ask you those and you ask me these.
Okay.
No,
I haven't looked at the answer.
It's okay. All right.
Those are too easy for me.
I know. Smart. They are easy. Okay, so let me ask you another one.
Ask me one I haven't been asked. Jump to like number 10.
Okay.
We ran through a few of these. We were just testing them out prior to the
scenario. Okay. You're at a job interview and you get asked. Well, they already asked. Okay, you get asked, will you be willing to make cold calls?
Yeah.
A prepared salesperson is likely to give the following response. A, no, I would not be willing to make anything besides money-making calls. B, who do you think I am, a sucker? Or C, yes, but I prefer to start the sales process with a prospect who has expressed some interest.
I believe that those are all terrible answers.
It's true.
But I think that the one that they're searching for is C.
Yeah.
Do you really think that, like, yeah, I think there's something to be said about a lead coming in and following up on that lead, which is what this person is kind of saying.
Alluding to, yeah.
Yeah, is that
showing some interest.
But here's the thing is a lot of people don't know that they need your product until you provide the value in it. And so that's where a lot of the times cold calling conversations go, right, is generating the need for it.
Well, not even that, but helping them to understand that they have this need, right? Yeah. Or maybe they already knew they had the need, but don't realize that you can fulfill it.
Right. Yeah, because for example, I'm not going to say like any names, but I was on a call with people the other day, and it was crazy because they had it. It's crazy to get on a call and realize that they want one thing, which is, for a lot of people, one solution. And
a single solution for
and not to come on,
yeah,
and not to come on here and totally sell our product, but like these people had all these different, like, how do you say it, like
disparate systems.
Yeah, so they were using one thing for their recruiting, one thing for their timekeeping,
onboarding,
one thing for, they had a whole other segment that they had on a completely different system because of the constant hiring, and then because it was seasonal. Mm-hmm. And then they were bringing it all back to one system through integration.
Yeah.
And it was just so confusing. I mean, I can't imagine having to have either all those apps or pages open, whatever it was, you know, however they're working it. And we're like, okay, so here's the solution. It's one solution, one system. And they still wanted kind
integrations.
of integrations. And I don't think people realize the value until you put it in the product. Like, it really is just this easy.
Yeah, there's typically two approaches that companies take when they're looking at solutions. They look at either best of breed, so they want the best product for each of those categories, or they go for a single solution that can do all of it, but may not be as strong in every area. Mm-hmm. But what's unique about your product is that they're pretty strong in every area.
Yeah.
Maybe not absolute best for certain things, but if you can understand their business well enough and say, look, our solution does handle your business as well as the system you have in every single category, why not have one system? Then that's really powerful.
It is.
And then they're not having to put data into multiple systems or run those integration algorithms.
It
and
is
stuff
so
like
much
that.
more seamless. And so, kind of just going back to what the question was saying, is a lot of times when people want your business, that's great. And those are great leads. Those are, they normally turn into great opportunities. But when you are able to connect with a business and you are able to invest that value, that just comes from cold calling and cold emailing. So,
well, it might even take time to, over time building
that rapport
with
100%.
somebody so that you can earn their trust so that they want to listen to what you can do and go, hey, listen, I know that you have all these systems. We can help you streamline that.
Sometimes those are your best advocates too.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is a little tougher than the answers they gave, right?
Yeah.
Like,
wait, it said, would you be interested in cold calling? So
yeah, so let's talk about cold calling for a second.
Yeah, so separate from would you be willing to cold calling?
Do you like it?
Yeah, but like, do you like it? Do you enjoy it? And I think we're both going to answer that at the same time.
Yeah, I think the answer to it is that if you say you really enjoy cold calling, you're probably lying. or
you're fibbing.
Or you've got some twisted
mentality that allows you to wake up every day and enjoy it
and bang your head into the wall. But yeah, no, it's one of those things I think that most people don't enjoy, but it's a necessity of the job. So you do it because it's required. It's necessary to be successful.
Yeah. Yes, it's required for success, not only just by your job, but I think anyone who can find routine and find enjoyment in the conversations that are had through it, that's where you're going to find the most success, because it is like setting those goals. It is finally getting a hold of someone that is the exciting part. But just in general, like, cold calling is not fun. No. It just isn't.
Well, I think I was sharing with you offline that when I was in leadership, I'd have reps that would come in and they would have call reluctance, and I could see it because they were just not picking up the phone and making the dials. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There could be a lot of reasons. One is maybe they're just not familiar with the product enough to feel confident to get on the phone and try to talk someone into scheduling an appointment, or
they're having more success somewhere else, because I see a lot of that. Like, normally people, when they find success in something else, they will use that as a reason to not.
Oh, you mean like emails? They're finding success using emails, so they
emails, surveys, whatever it is, and it's like, that's
why bother phone calling if I can do this? Yeah, I think it's important though to do all of it. And so what I would do,
like LinkedIn mail,
is I would skip. Yeah, exactly. All those different methods, but cold calling is an essential part of it. And so what I would do is I would either sit down with them at their desk or schedule time in an office in a conference room, and we would make dials together. In fact, I've done that virtually as well. And you just put your phone on speaker and let the person listen to you while you're on Teams. But what I think it does is it breaks down that fear. Like, okay, Brian's doing it. He's not saying anything magical. And I can say what he said. It's not rocket science. So once you kind of break that barrier and start doing it, then it's a lot easier and a lot more comfortable.
Everyone's embarrassed, but you have to remember, people are thinking more about what they're saying than what you're saying normally when you're doing those roundtable cold calls. And same with when you get on the phone, you have to realize, like, the people at those companies have to have hard conversations as well and make difficult phone calls. So they're not really worried about like how you're saying it, rather than just saying what you're like getting across your point.
And they don't know what your script was. They don't know that you're messing it up or any of that stuff.
Unless you make it up.
Yeah, in fact, I found that sometimes those kind of messed up calls, I have a a BDR that makes styles for me, and he called me and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to apologize. I messed up this call," and he had it recorded and he played it for me. And he's like, "I feel terrible. I didn't have the answer to this, and I didn't say this right, and I didn't listen." And I asked her the same question twice, and I said, "Hang on a second. You kept her on the phone for over almost 3 minutes. That's unheard of. Like when you get someone on the phone for a cold call, it's usually 30 seconds, and they've decided within 10 seconds if they're going to continue for that 30, right?" So I said, "Congratulations. You know, you may have fumbled through some things because he's brand new. He doesn't know all the right things to say." But I said, "You kept her on the phone for, almost 3 minutes."
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, she actually, I followed up and, kind of did the apology. "Hey, we're, kind of new at this. We're figuring things out, but we'd really like to share some stuff with you." And so we're continuing the conversation. So it was actually a successful call. It doesn't mean it has to be real pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. And sometimes those goofed up ones are the ones where you can laugh about later, and you end up building rapport just through that.
Yeah. I think, and we talked about this as well with my email, because I sent out an email, realized like I had said introduction twice in the email within the same sentence, and it didn't look as beautiful as I'd like it to, but she accepted the meeting and it was a great conversation. And you just have to reflect and go, it's like fix later, but send now. Like just do what you need to do and learn from those mistakes or learn from those emails, but you don't need to ponder on them to the point where you're running yourself to the ground and not doing what you need to do, getting the work done. So
yeah,
making the calls you need to.
Agreed.
That was all my questions.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Let me see if I had any others. Okay, let me ask this one.
Okay.
Productive salespeople organize their to-do list for sales opportunities based on A, whether they took their vitamins that morning, B, where each opportunity is in the sales process, or C, where they were born. Kind of silly.
Where each opportunity is in the sales process.
Yeah, they had some silly answers there, but the reality is that you want to take a look at, as you're preparing your week, you want to take a look at the opportunities that are at the end of the pipe, like in the sales process, and make sure you're on top of those, right? And then a good salesperson actually will have time carved out for all areas, like top of funnel, middle funnel, and the closing ones that are about to close. But you don't want to neglect the ones that are about to close, for sure.
Have you ever had a deal fall through like right at the end stage, like literally right when they were supposed to sign?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had one that I had sold them, they agreed, all was good. We were vendor of choice. We went through contracts, and there was some language in the contract that they didn't like. So we went through legal. We spent 2 weeks daily calls for 2 weeks trying to get that worked out, the language, and it could not come to an agreement, and had to walk away from it. Now a year later, it got back in there, and our company had merged. So when we merged with Ultimate, and we had new contract agreements, and so I was able to go in and use the new one, and they were agreeable to that. So ended up closing the deal, a much larger size deal actually. But yeah, it was a full year later.
That's crazy. I didn't know why that came to. I think because we were talking about like opportunities and going through it, but
yeah, it does happen. If you're in sales, you're going to have deals that fall out right at the end. It does happen.
Yeah.
If you're in sales long enough. So how do we want to close? You got a Disneyland shirt on, Mickey Mouse shirt. What's your favorite Disney? Did we already do this one?
Yeah, we already did
Disney ride. What about your favorite Disney character?
We already did this one too.
We did?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What about your favorite food at Disneyland?
Oh, this one's so easy.
Tell me.
It's the pineapple Dole Whip, like
Yeah, I knew that about you.
Yeah.
Mine would be either. I always like when I go to Disneyland. The first thing I like to do is get an ice cream bar. I don't know why.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse ice cream.
It's usually hot, I guess, in California, so I like to have an ice cream bar and walk around. But then they do have some really good beignets.
Yeah, those are so good. Yeah.
And French quarters. So, yep, that would be my choice.
All right. Well, we will catch you next week for another dilemma. But we hope you enjoyed our trivia questions and got you thinking a little bit. And we have a guest on next week. No, week after that.
Yep.
So.
Surprise guest.
Yeah. Well, see ya. Bye.